Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Let's have a look at a game that was played at the Tal Memorial in 1995. On the white end, Garry Kasparov. His opponent, Viswanathan Anand. Let's have a look. First of all, what opening? It is an Evans Gambit. Some of you may recall the game Bobby Fischer versus Reuben Fine, 1963. That had this same opening, and that game didn't last long. It was only a 17 mover. This one here, 25. Now in the Fischer versus Fine game, Fine at this moment played bishop a5. There are other options, and we get to see one of them here. Bishop e7. Now if there's one thing that sticks out to me most about this game, it is Kasparov's play and how it resembles AlphaZero's. Leela Chess Zero, the neural networks. Why do I think this? Well, there are two primary features about this game that kind of stick out to me. In particular, the decision Kasparov makes on move 8. We'll see what that is soon enough. d4 in this game. How should you reply as black? It's very important not to just go ahead and snap off this pawn. How many of you playing as black would just take on d4 and then feel the pain after your opponent plays queen to b3? Yeah, your king will now go uncastled. That's a problem. Considered best is knight a5 at this point, and again, your king would be without a cozy home. Anand understands this and says, the strength of your bishop, yeah, I don't want you pointing at my weakest square. That's too much. Go away. The bishop flushed back to e2 only at this point, only after the bishop is not observing f7 does black capture on d4. So here we are, move 8. What does Kasparov play in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, the top move in the engine's eyes is to capture on d4 with a pawn. Happy little pawns, right? You just restored your pawn structure. It's no longer isolated. Pawn duo, ideal pawn center. Couple different names for that. You're also vacating c3 for the queen knight. Everything seems wonderful. But Kasparov says no to all that. I'm going to take with the queen. Now, this move here is not just a, oh, I want to develop a new piece and throw a punch. No. The main idea here is to use d4 as a pivot to next hang a right and drift towards the king side, where the queen is going to be a great pest, a great inconvenience to the black king side structure. Knight c6, queen h4, queen g3. Here we are. Note the activity of the white queen compared to the black queen. The black queen in this game does nothing, makes one move and then basically resigns. What are the two features of this game that are reminding me of, let's say, the AlphaZero games? In 8 AlphaZero games, AlphaZero had white. And in 6 of those 8 games, we saw this exact move on board, e4 to e5. And in many of those 6 games, we saw the queen connecting really well with this advance by drifting over near the king side, probing for some weaknesses, trying to induce moves like g6, the move played in this game. This is what really stuck out to me. This decision, queen d4, queen g3, here we are, a difficult decision now for black. Computer suggests king to f8, go on castle, don't create a weakness. In this game, g6. Now if there's a first move that sticks out to me here, it is develop a piece, make use of a weak square, and stop your opponent from castling. That makes a real lot of sense. There may be a downside connected with that, though. At the same time, white has some space. That's what you get with this pawn established on e5. That's one of the things you get. You're also scaring away the king knight from its favorite square, f6. White has some space. If bishop h6 here, that will be challenged very quickly, and if there's a dark square bishop exchange, maybe the queen will feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, she has a square, actually, to work with on e7. What does Kasparov do? Gets castled. Retains some options for the dark square bishop. Who knows? It has a lot of different choices. Let's retain those options. Castles on board. Knight b6 follows. That knight's going to be given a kick one way or the other. c4, rook d1. Just anticipating those moves. c4 now. And after d6, rook d1, placing black in a pin. Black has a good move here. In the game, knight d7 is played. The computer says knight a4 is best. Knight a4 is a pretty slick move. What is it doing? It's looking to interfere with white's queenside development. Where do you think this knight wants to go? c3. Well, that's ruled out. And if you try to go elsewhere, the knight's going to hop right in and hit you with a fork. Knight a4 can be quite an inconvenient move to deal with. Okay, well, in this game, we have knight d7 really trying to put some pressure on the e5 pawn. I mean, if this is not a big focal point in this game, I'm not sure what is. Bishop h6 only now. Knight takes, a couple captures on e5, and knight to c3. So here we are. What's the body count? 5 pawns for white. White is down 2 pawns, but I think every single piece is better for white when compared to its counterpart. Okay, this knight may be a little bit better than the knight on c3, but I don't know that I could even say that. This knight will be flushed whenever white wants with f4. Black is in a seriously bad position here. It's too late, by the way, to now challenge this bishop on h6 with bishop to f8. At this stage, now that things have opened up in the center some, there could be a capture on f8. If king takes bishop, queen takes knight. Unprotected queen, that's a problem. Bishop f8 and chop chop. What is this king doing? He's just asking for trouble. Things are going to open up even further. With c5, the king is without a home. What does black do here? How to address this strong post on h6? Well, the decision, one of the better decisions, computer's eyes, is f6. The knight will be the one that gives a punch. From here, c5. Let's open it up. More lines for the better developed side. That's the way forward. Pawn exchanges. c5 on board. Additionally, new possibilities for the bishop. Continuing. Knight f7. Chop on d6. Recapturing with a pawn. Initially, I thought you take with the bishop. Throw a punch at the queen. You could do that. But there are checks and then follow-up checks. I believe the idea here by taking with the pawn is to keep the bishop around to kind of shelter the king somewhat from my rook check on the e-file. Continuing, we have queen e3, some defense of the bishop. Dark square bishop is gone, but where's the development for Team Black? It's non-existent. How many moves away from let's not even calculate. Castling is just only in your dreams, Black. From here, bishop f8, underdeveloping. Black has successfully, Black is setting up the pieces for the next game with bishop f8. Queen e3, king f7, trying to castle by hand, but yeah, it's not going to work. Knight d5 on board, nice improvement for the knight. Bishop e6, knight to f4. What to do about this pressure? Queen to e7. We're at move 24. We're just one more move away. And, well, what is this next move Kasparov plays here that makes Black resign? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, the final move of this game, move 25, might be a kind of difficult one to spot because it is a little quiet. Not some capture or check, but rather a rook to e1 move. And this one simple move, getting to a completely open file, I know there are pieces here, but moving to this completely open file is what breaks Black in the end. There are some serious threats connected with this, namely to have some bishop move with the discovered check or maybe even a double check. So for example, let's just say the rook plays here defending the bishop. What can you do here as white? You can play queen to d4. I don't believe that's the only one. You could capture on this square. This is cleanest. To capture on e6 and then play bishop to c4. And what are you doing? If queen takes bishop, that's going to lose the exchange. That's one way you could take advantage of these light squares. As soon as you take that light square bishop, this guy becomes enormous. So rook to e8 wouldn't really be working out. If, let's say, the bishop moves, there can be bishop c4, and what does the king do? The king goes here, you end up winning a piece. And if the king goes here, you end up moving the queen somewhere. And there's a pin. There's no good defense here. I'm not sure how many other variations to consider. Maybe this is the last one. Pawn to d5, you can play bishop f3. And white is ready to crash through on the d5 square. So something like this, you could take on e6, and in the end, show that that light square bishop is an absolute monster. There's just no good defense to this pressure against the e6 point, and white is basically attacking after having a minimal investment in this game, just a couple pawns. All the pieces are playing for Team White. So a quick kill in this one, just a 25 mover. Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even took a thing or two away from it. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.